Good afternoon and welcome to the April meeting of the Martinsburg City Club. I'm Jeff Malinda and I'd like to welcome you. Berkeley Arts Council is going to speak to you in just a few minutes. I want to remind you about the May meeting, which is May 18th. Super Shoes, which is not exactly a downtown business, but they're a recent business that came here to Martinsburg, and we thought we'd ask them to talk to us about what made them relocate here in Martinsburg. The May meeting will be our last meeting until September. So the other thing that we're looking to do is get some brief written feedback as far as what you liked and what worked for you this year, as far as speakers and topics, and solicit input for next year's speakers and topics. We'll also probably put that on our website and send you an email on that. And we really do want the feedback, whether it's people, whether it's topics, whether it's we need more about this, or please don't talk so much about that. Berkeley Arts Council, I think, will tell you that it is an operation that grew up from some inspiration from some of the very early meetings of the Martinsburg City Club. And unless you need a bigger introduction than that, Malinda Shaver, thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeff. Welcome. It's not usual that I know 90% of the names of the people in the room, but then usually there are a few more people. But welcome to you all. I'm very glad that you came out. Yes, indeed, this is kind of like coming back to our roots in a way. Back when Susan and Paul Pritchard started the City Club 3.5 years ago, something like that. One of the subjects that they felt was important to get information and learn about the experiences of other communities was the role that the arts and arts institutions played in, particularly in revitalizing downtown areas and cities in general. And as we heard some of those, we thought more and more, well, how could we help make this happen for the Martinsburg area? And since then, we've been going out learning about what it's difficult to describe what our group does without saying A, Berkeley, B, arts, and 3, a C word, in our case, council. And then what we learned was that an arts council eventually evolves to be what is needed for the community. And that's different from place to place. So what we found we have needed to do was, first of all, to establish connections with all of the arts groups in the community and with local artists, and to let people know as much as we could what's going on in the arts in the county, so that we could start to build a network within those groups and those people, and that we could find ways to take those basic building blocks and expand on it, which is what came to be our slogan, Amplify the Arts, which, as someone suggested, we said, that just says it all. We want to take what we've got and we want to make it bigger and better and make more people know about it. So that's what we've been working to accomplish. And just to some of the people that we work with, because we do connect to a number of organizations. Art Berkeley, which again, the two words Berkeley and art. Art Berkeley is an organization that currently is primarily visual artists, including people who paint, draw, photographers, some sculptors and potters and that sort of thing. The Heritage Craft Center of the Eastern Panhandle, because they do have a broader base than just Berkeley County, have been operating, I believe they're 15 or 16 years old now, and they began with some of the craftspeople sculptors, and so forth, and their focus is on teaching and continuing the heritage of traditional crafts, such as weaving and pottery and basketry and spinning and all sorts of those things, generally creating three-dimensional objects. The Arts Center, as you probably are aware, is the old federal building on King Street, 300 West King Street. And the reason we were showing you these paintings, photographs, drawings here, those are the items that are currently being hung on the walls at the Arts Center in a show sponsored by the Berkeley Arts Council. And those were selected from 108 submitted entries by 57 artists.
57 artists, 108 pieces from 57 artists.
And the juror, who...
Laura Amundsen, who is with the Goucher College in Baltimore, she's the director of exhibitions, among other things.
And she was the juror for the show, and it was her joy, challenge, and task to read that down to the 52 pieces that are being hung currently. And believe me, I've seen a number of them when I stopped by there yesterday, and they're many percent more intense, more vibrant, and alive looking than what you could see here on the display. So we definitely want to invite you all to come and see that, and that was one of the reasons we wanted to be here today, to help get the word out about that exhibit. The opening is Friday. We will be having a reception from 5 to 7 p.m. at the Arts Center, and everybody's welcome. Some of the artists will be there, but some of them are actually from like Indiana and Illinois and New York and a few other places, because we did put the word out through various publications inviting people to submit for it. The exhibit will be on display until actually Saturday, May 19th is the final day, and it will be open from 12 to 4, Tuesday through Saturday. And if you have any questions on all of that, that information is also on our website. And if you need to know about our website, the folder that's on your table has all of that sort of information in it. This is the second year we've done this exhibit. It began out of an activity that Art Berkeley sponsored which was held at War Memorial Park on Earth Day, and I'm afraid last year's deluge that just totally flooded it out meant that, not knowing what to expect on Earth Day for weather, we couldn't have anticipated that this year was going to be July. But so the event at the park was not put together for this year, but we did continue with the exhibit because that's indoors, thankfully. I'm going to tell you some more about some of the other things we're doing, but I also want to, Rip and I visited recently with an event which I hope some of you had a chance to experience at Martinsburg High School, led by an artist, Elaine Unoni, who was in the art department. She put together a grant application for a program she wanted to do on the Harlem Renaissance. And the Community Foundation provided the money to get iPads that they could collect all of the work on. And this spawned a whole community within the school of various artworks. The dance department, the history department, the English department, and of course all of the art department and the theater department. All of them produced and created work with the students that related to the Harlem Renaissance. And then they had a concluding activity which they called Harlem Nights at the school, and each of the visitors, many of them parents, but fortunately we found out about it through Elaine, and it just struck me that it so epitomizes the kind of thing that arts can mean to the community. where it expresses people's feelings, emotions, experiences in a number of different ways. It's enjoyable. It puts life into the buildings and the institutions, and it gives the whole community a reason to get together and kind of celebrate their experiences. We'd like to do that kind of thing. We actually did a similar sort of thing as a beginning exercise. And I have to say, everything that we have done, because we're a new organization, we're only 2.5 years old at this point, we've been inventing it. It was all new. We didn't have a library on the shelf that we could put from. So we've been developing these things and trying to take advantage of the opportunities that we've learned about in the community, and to work with the artists who may have had ideas or work that they wanted to show. And so last March we had our first Arts Expo, we called it. John wrote a great article for us that really captured it in the paper. The headline said that Arts Expo connects arts to the community. And we had 15 artists doing demonstrations and hands-on exercises for kids in Montgomery, that's another old, no, Martinsburg Mall. And we had musical presentations. We had the Berkeley County Strings. We had the chorus from Spring Mills Middle School. We had several of the local musicians who played and performed for us through the day. And it was kind of a festival, and it was really great fun. And here's the good part. It was supported by grant money from the State Commission on the Arts, which we had applied for the previous fall. And that was the first we were eligible to apply for state grants. And so we were delighted that we got that one. Not a big one, but we were trying to start out as part of our learning process to see what we could accomplish and just bite off what we could really chew. Now, this year we have applied again to recreate that event, or create a new version of it, and that will be November 10th at Martinsburg Mall. A similar pattern. We're going to have artists and musicians demonstrating and teaching, and we're going to work even more towards activities that people can participate in when they visit the mall. We're working on a montage mural of scenes from around the county, which we're going to ask people to contribute their work, photographs or paintings or drawings that they can actually help create there on that day. Just some ideas, and we're open to more ideas. Thankfully we have some time to do it, and that's one of the reasons we shifted the date for that event, so that we could, first of all, get in on the grant cycle, and second of all, get a good group of people and presentations together. Besides that, we're also pleased to report that we have brought back to Berkeley County, in the form of grant money, both from the State Commission on the Arts and from the Community Foundation, this year for our first go-round in our Arts and Education program. We've gotten funding totaling $6,600, which is not bad for the first time around, which has put artists into classrooms in various schools throughout the county. If you're ever up at Hedgesville High School and you're near their theater, go in and look up on the wall and you will see a 4 by 16 foot mural of a ceramic mosaic, thank you, of which the art students put together, made up of pieces of found material that they identified. They created the design, and then they found the materials, and they put this together, and it was recently installed as a permanent piece of work up there at Hedgesville High School. That was led by Leah Wood, who's been one of our longtime supporters of both Art Berkeley and the Arts Council. The And she's now doing miniature versions of those in some other classrooms in other schools through the county. We have put together a group of artists who have, and we're matching them up with teachers in classrooms, and we have a grant application in, again, both to the Commission on the Arts and the Community Foundation for support for that program. And that's the kind of thing with 31 going on, 34 schools in the county. There's just an immense amount of opportunity there that we can help to give students the experience of creating something with artistic values and using their own hands, and that all gets tied into other subjects that they may be working on in the schools. And they're just a fascinating number of ideas. I can't begin to explain all that, but you can get music tied to science and math, for instance. History is an obvious one. Our banjo player instructor worked with classes on learning about Appalachian music, and that was tied to history as well. And that's a program we really want to expand and continue. And what I do have to say is we're hoping that all of that grant money will come through. However, what we can get in grants depends also on what contributions, sponsorships, and patrons we can generate within the community, because that's the way it works with grants. They very seldom will actually give you everything you need to cover a program. So keep that in mind for a moment, and I'll come back to that later. Let's see, what else have we got going on? We are working on plans for a watercolor workshop to be taught by a nationally known artist, and that will be in July. The Berkeley Arts Bulletin. If you're not already getting it, there's a clipboard over here on the table. Be sure you give us your email address so that we can add you to it. We've been putting that out 3 years now. At the beginning of every month, we don't, put it out every 3 days or anything. We collect as much information as we can about all the arts events that are going on in the county. It may be music, concerts, high school kids, classes for children, opportunities for artists, things that they may want to submit their work to. And let's see, what else?
Holiday Art Market.
Oh, yeah. This is another one. We have to count this as a success. And we started out a year and a half ago in December. We got artists from Art Berkeley and the Heritage Craft Center and some others who weren't necessarily members of those, who had work that they were eager to get out in front of the public so that they could not only show it but sell it. We got the temporary use of a vacant store on Queen Street, and the first year we ran something over 3 weekends. This year we started the day after Thanksgiving and ran until the Friday before Christmas, and our results were more than double the sales of the previous year. Part of that was due to doing a whole lot more promotion. This is almost as important a piece of the work that the Arts Council does as the actual creation of events and activities, is the promotion. Getting the word out any way we can do it. Internet, newspaper, the Journal has given us a lot of support in that respect. And the broadcast stations, of course. And the other thing we found is, as we have a continuous series of events and programs, we can keep our name out there on a regular basis, which means you don't have to start all over with getting people familiar with you. So the promotion has been a very important part of making everything successful. and also generating that awareness in the community of what's happening in the arts. Oh, let me see. Coming back to this. The brochure you have on your table lists on the inside a number of the activities, and you'll also see a lot of little logos on there because those represent some of the people and organizations that we have been collaborating with and partnering with through the past year and a half. The program at the Arts Center, of course, has been a good partnership with that organization. The art market was with Art Berkeley and Heritage, plus the building owners, and Main Street gave us some assistance on helping to find that space. Let's see, oh yeah, Chamber of Commerce has helped us with our promotion, and the Convention and Visitors Bureau is putting out our information in their newsletters. One program that we'd hoped to be able to repeat from last year, and this is one of the things that's been a learning experience, is what we call Show Us You Can Dance. And we did it a year ago in March, and with the finals in April, May, I forgot which dates. We shifted. The scheduling was, it's really challenging when you're dealing with the schools, the judges, the promotion, our own events, and trying to coordinate with the dance schools themselves. Well, what we found out this year was the weekend we thought we could do it was also the same day as a state dance competition, and 2 days later there was a national competition in Montreal, and it wasn't meshing. We're going to do it next year, though. We're going to go into it. Every one of these things we learn how to do it, what the considerations are, who the contacts are, what we have to know to pull it off, and so we've got a good handle on that one now. The Arts Expo, Mountain State University, of course, at the mall, and I mentioned the Commission on the Arts and the grant support for those various programs. And, the Apollo. By the way, if you're at the Apollo in the next couple of weeks, they have Death by Chocolate this weekend. That's a tie-in to the Chocolate Festival downtown on the 28th. And last evening we hung an art display in their lobby, which is something we've set up as a joint effort between the Arts Council and the Apollo. And so if you happen to be there, take a look around. There's some very nice pieces in there. Now, the important part. On this very back page, this is the form where we're hoping you'll take a look at this and consider that maybe as a member or as a supporter, as a sponsor, a benefactor, or whatever, you know how those category things go. And we do have, for sponsors, we have a package of information about ways that we recognize your contribution, and I'll be glad to talk to you about that. But especially, give us your email so we can keep in touch with you and keep you up to date on what's going on there if you're not already getting that address. Any questions you have, that you think of something later, by all means. But in the meantime, if you have questions now, I'll be glad to try to answer them.
Malinda, are you running the art sale at Christmas time, same dates as you did last year?
Hopefully, yeah. What we found is when we're borrowing a vacant space, the owner or let is usually wants to wait until as late as possible to commit to that, because they might rent it. And of course we really hope that they will. So we have to kind of play it by ear and and just keep in touch with the people who had those buildings and those spaces and see what we can work out. Let's see. Another thing we're going to explore in the next, few weeks, the Heritage Craft Center in Art Berkeley have agreed that we ought to get together and explore more how the three groups can integrate even more tightly as far as planning events and to develop so that we've got a schedule that can go through the year and that we can, for instance, Heritage wants to get their class schedule reestablished and that sort of thing. Obviously, we can help with that by helping to promote it and to build that into the annual schedule. We've actually applied to the Commission on the Arts for their assistance in that, but they have a peer advisory network, and the facilitator for that discussion is going to come into town and sit down with us and help us think through and work through what our potential issues and solutions might be. And so that's another thing we're working on right now.
Malinda?
Yes.
I'm embarrassed that I don't know the answer to this question. You have a website,
Yes.
and if I go to the website, will I see those listings of events and classes and all the things that...
Yeah, on the website there are, on the left-hand column lists our activities. On the right-hand side there's a link to the Berkeley Arts Bulletin, which you can read on the website.
Everything that's going on. Okay.
Yeah. And something that would be very helpful if any of you can do this for us, we'd like to expand the email readership of that list. And if you either have or can pass on to a list that you communicate with, information about signing up for the Arts Bulletin, that would be helpful to us because, as I say, that this is a big county, actually, so we have a lot of work to do on getting the information out to the public about what's going on in the arts. Okay. Question?
It's a sort of a very off-the-wall question, I guess. You were talking about the jury, and you were saying that people were applying from out of state, and I was wondering, how do they apply their work? Do they mail them in, or do they have to...
Yeah, the submissions now, and this is becoming, I would say, 90% of shows now handle their jurying digitally. Because obviously, if you have a large artwork, you don't want to pack it up, ship it somewhere, and then not have it accepted and have to pay to ship it back. But at this point, it's becoming more and more common for the artists simply to be able to photograph their work or have someone photograph it. And then that file is submitted. That's where the images that you saw earlier came from. That
Yeah,
they're
I was
submitted.
just wondering, because I thought that would probably
Right.
be...
Well, they come in on
So how do you know how
CD.
to choose them? Because you can't really...
Well, the
see
jurors
exactly.
generally are used to working this way.
Okay.
No. They've, in fact, the Laura Amundsen, who did this show for us, even went so far as to build a PowerPoint presentation showing how she thought the work should be organized when it was hung. The space requirements, sometimes you have to adjust for that, but that was how she worked with it. And that is becoming very common. Now, sometimes people will say, oh gosh, I don't have the ability to do that, and we'll talk to them and try to figure out how it can happen.
We actually offered a workshop last September on how to photograph the work and take care of the submission. And how much we'll do knowing together sometimes. So.
Yep.
But then the digital submission on CD or even direct upload to the web now is becoming the rule for most juries.
Well, thank you. That was interesting.
Okay, well, covered a lot of activities here, but you can see we've been busy and there's so much more that can be done, so if you want to help us out, we can use it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.